Okay, if you don't have any questions, I'll start with workflow today. Let me share my screen. Is my screen visible to all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
basically, yeah. We have different automated processes in Salesforce, like workflow, process builder, approval process. So these are the different automated processes in Salesforce. Automated process is nothing but whenever something is triggered, some action is when some action is performed, we can perform some other actions based on that specific action. Like I'll go to workflow. You have to go to setup, under create, workflow and approvals. You can see workflow rules, approval process, flows, process builder. So these are the approval process that we have in Salesforce. Let me click on workflow rules. You can see what is workflow. So workflow automates the following types of actions. So by using workflow, we can create a task on a specific record. We can send out any emails. We can update another fields, and we can send outbound messages. Outbound message is nothing but we are sending a record outside the Salesforce. So that is nothing but the outbound message. Okay. So if you read this thing, then you'll come to know why we use workflow. So what it has. Okay. Let me continue this. As of now, I don't have any workflow rules. Let me create a new rule. First of all, I'll let you know what I'll do. So actually, I have a description field. Okay. So I want whenever the minimum pay. So minimum pay is more than 1 lakh. Let's say. So whenever the minimum pay is more than 1 lakh, I need this field, description field, should be updated. So if it is more than 1 lakh, the description field should be high paid. The value in the description field should be high paid. Okay. This is my requirement. So if any record is updated with minimum pay with more than 1 lakh, then this field should be updated with high paid. Okay, that's my requirement. Let me create a new rule. Here, first of all, we have to select the object. On which object we are creating this workflow rule. Let me select the positions. Position object. Next, we have to give the rule name. Okay. Then here we have two different things: evaluation criteria, rule criteria. So coming to evaluation criteria, we can trigger the workflow in 3 cases. In first case, whenever a record is created. In Salesforce, on a position object, whenever a record is created, this evaluation criteria will be, this will trigger the workflow. If I select the second one, whenever a record is created or edited, this will be applicable even to the existing records. So whenever a record is created and whenever a record is edited, that means, see this record, we already have this record in Salesforce. So if we update this record, if we edit this record, that will be, if we edit this record, even in that case, the workflow rule will be triggered. But if we select the first one, and then if we update the record, this will not be triggered. This will not trigger the workflow. And the third option, created and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet the criteria. I'll explain you this after the rule criteria. As of now, I'm selecting created and every time it's edited. And the second one is the rule criteria. We can select the conditions, like on which case we have to trigger the workflow. As just now I explained, right? So the minimum pay should be more than 1 lakh. In that case, we have to update the description field. So we have to select the condition, the minimum pay is more than 1 lakh here. I'm selecting the field, minimum pay, operator, greater than value. We just give the value that 1 lakh. Save and next. Then here you can see there are two options: immediate workflow actions and time dependent workflow actions. So this is not, we cannot add the time dependent actions in this case because we have selected the second option, evaluate the rule when record is created and every time it's edited. So in this case, we cannot add the time dependent workflow. Time dependent workflow can be added only in first and second case. Okay, let me add immediate action now. If you click on this add workflow action, you can see new task, new email alert, new field update, new outbound message. So these are the 4 actions that we can perform in the workflow. And select existing action. This is nothing but if we already define any of these actions, if you already have outbound message, if you already have an email alert. So in that case, we can just select the existing action and select that specific action what we already have in the system. As of now, I'm just updating a field. So we have to update the description field, right? So whenever the minimum pay is more than 1 lakh, we have to update the description field. So I have selected field update. Update description. Okay. And we have to select the field to update, which field we want to update. Here we have to select the object, position, or account or contact. So here it is showing account and contact because we have the relation. Position is the child object for account and contact. Let me open the fields. If you see the fields, we have the relation master detail and lookup relations with the contact and account. So that is the reason it is showing 3 objects: position, account, and contact, because position is the child object. So based on the condition on a child object, we can update the parent object in workflow. So it is showing the position, account, and contact object. So I'm selecting position, then the description field, and re-evaluate workflow rules after field change. This means if we check this checkbox, if something is happened, so if let's say there is a workflow that is updating this record, this specific position record, there is a workflow. So if that workflow will update this record, if that workflow is updating this record, again, if it is meeting the criteria. So let's say there is a workflow E and there are 2 workflows, workflow A and B. Some workflow E is updating minimum pay is more than 1 lakh. So let's say it's updating the minimum pay to 2 lakhs. Then in that case, if the minimum pay is more than 1 lakh, then we are triggering this workflow. So this should be re-triggered, right? After that workflow, this workflow should be filed. So if you check this checkbox, in that this will be filed again when another workflow is updating this record. As of now, I'm not checking this record. Okay, I've selected the field description and then use a formula to set the new value. Show formula editor. Okay, I'm just using high paid. Sorry. This is the text value, right? So we have to give in single quotes. And then check syntax. You can check the syntax here itself. It will show you if any errors are there. So there are no syntax errors in merge field or functions. I'm saving it. Okay, this name already exists. Okay, I just saved it. Then done. Let me see. Now we have the workflow rule. we have the we have created the workflow rule. The workflow rule name is position workflow rule. You can see the rule criteria here. Sorry, before that you can see the evaluation criteria. Evaluate the rule when a record is created and every time it's edited. So this workflow rule will be triggered even if we create a new record or if we update the existing record in Salesforce. And the rule criteria is this workflow rule will be triggered only when minimum pay is greater than 1 lakh. So if these two are satisfied, then it will come to the actions. What it's doing in action? Update description. Let me open this. See, it's updating. It's updating this field to high pay. Okay. Go back. Sorry. Let me go back to the workflow. Then here you can see this is inactive. That active checkbox is not checked. Once you create a workflow in Salesforce, you have to activate it. You have to click on this activate button. See, now the checkbox is checked, so it's active now. Let me open this position record. You can see the description field is empty now, and the minimum pay is 1 lakh. Sorry, 10,000. So I'm updating this to 2 lakhs. Let me click on save. And as of now, the description field is empty. If I click on save, that field will be high paid. See. So if you want to perform, any actions like sending an email or updating a field or creating a task, sending outbound messages. So if you want to perform any of these actions, whenever a record is created or edited in Salesforce, then we can go with the workflow. Any questions so far?
Murali, can you go to the formula field?
Field update.
Okay. I just want to look at where you put the
Show formula editor. Yes.
Now, what about the condition you put in?
I'm just updating the field here. I'm not adding any condition. So the condition will be
where you put the condition if minimum pay is greater than or whatever.
Yes. Let me go there. So there are two options here: criteria are met and formula evaluates to true. So here I have just selected the field minimum pay and the operator and then the value. So if the minimum pay is greater than 1 lakh.
What happens if it's exactly 100,000? 1 lakh.
If it's exactly 1 lakh, then it will not update the field.
So it won't trigger the rule.
Yes. Let me show you now. See, it's not updating the field. If it is exactly 1 lakh. If it is more than 1 lakh, it will update the field. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And again, see, if we already have this value in the on specific record, then if we update the minimum pay to 90,000, so it is 90,000 now. No, If I save the record, it will be still high paid because we already have this value in the description. We have written the condition if it is more than 1 lakh, we have to update the field description field to high paid. But we have not written the condition if it is less than 1 lakh, we have to update it to something. We have not written that condition, right? So if the description field is, yes, it's a different one.
So Murli, in this situation, can we add another condition there? If it is less than 100,000, then description field should be blank.
See here,
So that way it will, yeah.
Actually, if I open the workflow, the work for all the actions, whatever the actions we have, the rule criteria and evaluation criteria is same. So we have single, there is a single criteria, single rule evaluation criteria and single rule criteria. Then if we have those kind of conditions, then we can use the process builder.
Okay, so we cannot set two conditions on the same field, right?
No, if we in workflow rule, if we have, we can have a single evaluation criteria and single rule criteria.
Okay.
And whatever the actions that we have, so those actions will be here under workflow actions.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Hello, Murli. Can you please explain one more time what
Sure.
is the workflow rule and what is the trigger that you mentioned repeatedly? So I could not get that word.
Yeah, sure. I'm deactivating this. Let me delete the workflow. I just deleted the workflow. As of now, I don't have any workflow rules in my system. Let me create a new rule. So let me take a different example here. So whenever a record is okay, whenever a record is created on a position object, I need to create a task on the specific record. Okay, let me create a new rule. Here, we have to select the object. So on which object you want to write the workflow. So I've selected the position object. Then next, here you have to give the rule name. Position workflow rule. So I'm selecting created. Okay. Then okay. Let me select a condition also. So if it let me open it. Okay, let me take the same condition again. So if the minimum pay is more than 1 lakh, let me select the same condition. I need to create a task. I'm selecting greater or equal to. Okay. We have different operators here. So equals to, not equals to, starts with, contains, does not contain, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, includes and excludes. So based on our requirement, we have to select the operator. I'm selecting greater than, or the minimum pay is greater than or equal to 1 lakh. We have to create a task. And that task will be assigned to this user. And the subject is position created. And the due date would be, I'll select position created date plus 2 days. Okay. So whenever a position is created with the minimum pay more than or greater than or equal to 1 lakh, I'm creating a task. I'm assigning that task to this user, and the due date of the due date would be the created date plus 2 days. Okay. Save. Done. Activate. Okay. Okay. So which one did I select? Created or created and or anytime it's edited? Okay, one record is created. So I have to create a new record. Position name is senior analyst. Minimum pay is 1 lakh I'm giving. Account. Contact. Let me save it. See, position created. the task has been created, and then today is the 20th, right? Now, so the due date would be the created date plus 2 days. Can you see that created date is 20th December, and then I've given created date plus 2 days. So because that's the reason the due date is created 20th plus 2, 22nd, and it is assigned to this user. So the task has been created. Is it clear now?
Yeah.
So if you want to
clear more, yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
I'll explain again. So I'll explain with sending out an email. Let me add another action. New email alert. Okay. The description is position created. Then greater than or equal to 1 lakh. And email template. Anything. Just this is a sample email template. And okay, I'm selecting this user. So the email will go to this user. You can select any of them, like account owner, case team, creator, or email. If you have any email field in that specific object, and public groups or owner, you can select any user. Okay, I'm just selecting this user. So okay, whenever the position is created with this condition, an email with this template should go to this user. Okay. So I have added another action in the same workflow. So I have 2 actions now. It's creating a task and sending out an email. Okay. Let me. It's too tough to create another record again and again. Let me change the evaluation criteria. So I'm changing the evaluation criteria to second option. Even if I edit the record, it will create a task and then an email will go. Okay. So I'm using the same record. I'm refreshing it. As of now, we have only 1 task. Okay. And let me open the email. So I don't have any new mails. Let me edit it. I'm updating it to 2 lakhs. See, there is another task created. So I have 2 tasks now. And let me refresh this on my email account. Okay, let me. So that's a different mail ID. Okay. Let me change the user now. I'll edit this email alert and I will select this user. Now this user. Okay, I didn't open that earlier user's email ID. Let me, sorry, give me a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, now I have selected the right user. Let me update this record again. Now I have 3 tasks. Let me check the email. See, I've got the email. If I just leave about the template, so I've got the email. So we have to create a template before this. We have to create a template that saying the minimum pay has been changed or minimum pay is more than 1 lakh, something like that. So we should have separate email template for this. So we have to select that template. Then that will go to the user. So I got the email and the task is created. As I have 2 actions in my workflow rule. Any questions, guys? Sorry, someone is asking something. Any questions? Okay.
Very clear. Thank you.
Yeah. And see, you can see the time-dependent workflow actions. These are the workflow actions. Under workflow actions, there are two types of actions here: immediate workflow actions and time-dependent workflow actions. When we select the second option here, evaluate the rule when record is created and every time it's edited. You cannot add the time-dependent workflow for this action, for this evaluation criteria. And for second and the third evaluation criteria, you can add the time-dependent workflow. Let me select the third evaluation criteria. I'll explain you what is this. What is the difference between the second option and the third option? Okay, I've selected the third option. Saving the record. And let me delete this email alert because I don't want multiple emails. Okay, so as of now, we have the task. Okay, that's fine. See, now we have the evaluation criteria is the third option. So evaluate the rule when a record is created and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet the criteria. And the rule criteria is minimum pay more than greater than or equal to 1 lakh. So when these conditions are satisfied, so we are creating a task. Let me go to that record. Let me. Okay, we have 3 tasks now for this record. Let me open another. Sorry. Let me open another record. We have 1 task for this. Let me open another record. I want even 1 task. Okay. We have no task for this record. See, for senior developer record. Let me update the minimum pay to 2 lakhs. If I save this record, the task is created, right? So if I update it to 3 lakhs again, can anyone guess whether the task will be created again or not? Any idea?
I don't think so.
Send an email.
So if I update the minimum pay, earlier it was the value was 2 lakhs. Now it is 3 lakhs. So if I save the record,
Yeah.
So the task will be created or
Again, task will, yeah, again, task will create it.
okay, let
It
me.
starts, right? Because you already created for more than 2 lakhs.
It won't
See,
be
the
created.
task is not created because we have selected the third option. So it will perform the action only when the criteria is meeting subsequently. That means, um, so it should not be meeting the criteria before saving the record. It should meet the criteria only after saving the record. In that case only, the task will be created if we select the third option. Let me update this to 50,000. I'm saving it. Okay. So we have one task now. Now it's not, the current value is not meeting the criteria. Okay. I'm changing it to 1 lakh.
Now it's sure.
Yeah. When I save the record, see, it created a task. Because the old value, the earlier value was 50,000, which was not meeting the criteria. Now it's meeting the criteria. So it should move the state of not meeting the criteria to meeting the criteria. It should match the criteria subsequently if we select the third option. Again, if I update this to 2 lakhs, so it will not create the task. It will not create a task again because it was already meeting the criteria. Did you get this point? Any questions on this? Most of the people will confuse here. What's the difference between the second and third option?
Thank you. It's good. I have one question regarding to the workflow rule, and when we have the rule criteria, and how do we meet the values that we want to evaluate? For example, I see that we have a current field, and then we can choose any field that we want to evaluate. And then there is the operator, equals,
Yes.
not equal, starts with all this, right? And then
Yes.
value.
Yeah.
We had to do this. This is something very similar to what we did with the views, with the different views that we were put into every tab or every object. So so I remember that for creating the view, we had the option to create a view for the last week, for example. So the value there, it was I think that it was last week, and then it started out that way. But my question is, what are all the values preset? Where can we see at all the options? For example, if I want to see the last month, I think the last month, I'm not sure, but I think that it's not something that is preset, I think. But last year, for example, would that work? Or what are the options for value? Is there like a table with the different
No,
alternatives?
there are no options for values. You have to give the value, your own value. If you want to give the value to 2 lakhs, you can just simply type the value.
Oh yes, but that's because it's a value
Yes.
number. But when we're talking about a value that it's already set like the one that we were using, which is last
Pick list values, I guess
week.
you're trying to
Yeah,
say.
yes,
Okay,
that's right.
that's
Preset
different
value.
actually. Pick list, global pick list you're talking about.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about the global pick list. So which we already.
I'm talking about because this view, this is something that is similar to other, and I imagine that we're gonna be coming up to here for other things as well, just to be aware what we can.
No, you can see this kind of criteria are met and formula evaluates to multiple places in workflow. But this is only applicable to the workflow. So if you select the formula evaluates to true, you can write your own formula here.
Mm-hmm.
If it is a simple, then you can just select the criteria are met, and you can, if you want to add any condition on a specific field, simply, then you can just select the field and add the operator and select the value. So if your formula it's a bit complex, then you have to go to formula evaluates to true. Then here you can, by using the field, by inserting the fields, you can just insert any fields, position and any field, so minimum pay, maximum pay, you can select. You can insert in this way and insert the operator greater than or equals to, and here you can just add the value.
Mm-hmm.
So and you can even use the functions. So there are a lot of functions here. Right side you can use by using these functions you can write complex formulas. So to write the complex formulas, you have to use that formula evaluates to true. If your condition is simple, then you can just go with criteria are met. So this is a simple. This is a simple formula that you can. I mean, simple condition. If you have any simple condition, then you can use this criteria are met. And you have multiple conditions like either minimum pay should be more than 1 lakh or maximum pay is more than 1.5 lakh. So if you have any multiple conditions in that way, you can add another conditions here. So you can add multiple conditions here. And by default, you can see and here. So it should satisfy all the conditions. If you want to change this and to or, you have to click on this add filter logic. And here, instead of and, you have to type or and save. So you can
max pay value, I think you missed.
yeah. So now it's or now. You can see if I save this, you can see or here. So we have added two conditions, either minimum pay is greater than 1 lakh or maximum pay is greater than 1.5 lakh. So you can add multiple conditions in that way.
So this is nothing but a query, that's right?
No, it's not a query. It's just a condition.
Condition, but it's
yeah.
It's like a SQL query. Yeah.
And if we want to imagine, we want to say, we want to know what are the
yeah.
Hang on, let me think. Okay, so somebody was had this salary increase, and then 3 days later, we're going to send an email to somebody or whatever. How can we do that? Because we are combining two things there. We're combining one evaluation that is numerical, and then another one that is evaluating a certain amount of time there.
So when you want to say, like, if a record is created and after 2 days or 3 days you should have some action. Yes, I'll explain that. Yeah. So is it clear as of now, the difference between the second and third option?
Yes, I think too.
Okay. So there is one more option here, time dependent work fractions. Okay. So time dependent work fractions is nothing but whenever something is happened, if the criteria is met, if you want to perform some action after 2 days or 3 days, then we can go with the time dependent work fractions. I have to edit this. first of all, to add the time dependent workflow, we have to deactivate this workflow. Now it's deactivated. I'll just change the evaluation criteria from third to first one whenever a record is created. And you can even create a time dependent workflow action even for the third option, but just I've selected created. But you cannot add the time dependent actions for the second option. If you select the second option, see you can see the message here. You cannot add time dependent workflow actions with this option. Either you have to select created or created and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet the criteria. Okay, I'm selecting created. Hit it. Add time trigger. So I want 1 day after rule trigger day. So I want this action should be performed 1 day after rule trigger day. Save. And here you have to add the action. So what is the action you want to perform? So you can see the same actions again. New task, new email alert, new field update, new outbound message. Let me select a email alert. You have to select the email template, same as what we have done earlier. And you have to select the user and save. Okay, now if you create any record with this with minimum pay is more than 1 lakh, then immediately a task will be created. Then after 1 day, an email will go to this user, to the user which we have selected in the email alert.
Awesome.
And we have to activate this. Let me go to positions. Consultant and minimum pay is 2 lakh. Contact, save. Task is created now, and email will go after 1 day, as we have 1 day after the rule trigger date. Okay, and then one more thing. So that will be in queue. So we have added the time dependent action, and we have created the record with minimum pay more than 1 lakh. So the action that what we have defined here. So this action will be in queue. So it will go to queue. Again, if I update this record to 50,000 and save it. So if I update this to 50,000 and save the record. So as this will be in a queue, right? Earlier this will be in a queue, but now we have it is the minimum pay is less than 1 lakh. If we update the record to not meeting the criteria, then the action whichever we have in the queue, so that will come out of the queue. So that will not be that email will not go after 1 day because the value has been changed, so it's not meeting the criteria. Is it clear?
Yeah, but can we see the queue? Is it possible?
Yes, you can see the queue. Sorry, Gauri, can you help me here?
queues?
Yes.
I'm not sure about it.
Let me. I have to create a new record. Yeah. See, it's scheduled on 21st. Can you see this?
Yep, that's good.
The
Yep.
position overflow.
So last time
And-
it was probably removed because
Yes, I have updated it, right? So I'm
Yep.
updating this to again to 10,000. I'm saving it. Now I'm refreshing this.
that should go away.
Now we don't have that.
Perfect.
So that will come out of the queue.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Let me go to worker rules then. So first of all, we have to select the object and we have to give the rule name and select the evaluation criteria. So evaluation criteria is nothing but when should it go to the next step, like when should it go to the rule criteria. So if the evaluation criteria is created or created, then it's anytime it's edited to created and every time it's edited, and created it and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet the criteria. So these are the three options that we have. Then we have to give the rule criteria. We have to define the rule criteria. It depends on the requirement. Depends on our requirement. Then after that, we have to select the workflow actions. By using the workflow, we can perform only four types of actions: updating a field, sending out an email, creating a task, and sending outbound messages. So I will show you outbound messages now. Let me edit. Add workflow action. So you can see two types of actions: immediate workflow actions and time-dependent workflow actions. We cannot, you have to remember this, you cannot add the time-dependent actions for the second option. That is created and every time it's edited, created and it's every time it's edited. The second option. For second option, you cannot add the time-dependent workflow. And I'm selecting outbound message now, new outbound message. Outbound message is nothing but we are sending data from Salesforce to third-party system. Outside, from Salesforce to outside. Let me sample outbound. Here you have to give the endpoint URL. Where are you sending the message? Let me open puts request. Yeah, they have there are multiple sites: puts request and request bin, hook bin, to test these outbound messages. This is the endpoint URL that you have to give. And you can even select the fields. So what are the fields that you want to send? Let's say I want to send the minimum pay, position name, minimum pay, maximum pay, account and contact. Okay. Minimum pay, maximum pay, account, contact. Yeah, if you want, you can even send the session ID. If you check this checkbox, you can send the session ID as well. Okay. Save. Save. See, now we have the outbound message. We have added the outbound message whenever a record is created with minimum pay more than 1 lakh. Okay, done. Selecting account, contact. I'm saving the record. See, the task is created, and you can see outbound messages. Under monitor, you can see the outbound messages. Here, see, this is the this outbound message is failed because it will expect response from the third-party system, either true or false. So it will expect the acknowledgement. So here you should have to write some code here to send the acknowledgement. So that's related to the third-party system. So whenever they send acknowledgement to true, acknowledgement back to Salesforce to true or false, then it will come out of the queue. So it should get the acknowledgement from the third-party system. Because it is not getting the acknowledgement now. So that is the reason it's failed. Okay. So the number of attempts, you can see the number of attempts is 1. So it will be keep on updating the, I think for every 30 seconds, it will keep on sending, it will try to send the outbound message to that third-party system. Let me refresh it. See, the number of attempts is 3. And let me refresh again. Okay, still it's 3. See, now the number of attempts is 4. So it will be keep on trying to send the outbound message. Okay. So let me delete this. This is how we create the outbound messages. We have to give the endpoint URL. Here we have to give the endpoint URL, and we have to select the fields to send to the third-party system. So this is how we have to create the. We have to send the outbound messages. Any questions on this? Any questions on workflow?
One question. What would be the difference between the message when we are saying a message is that we are sending a text message to somebody or a WhatsApp message, or what is
Yeah,
that?
let me see. So, and we are selecting the fields here, right? So whenever a record is created, so we have created this record, senior trainer, and we have selected the fields: account, contact, ID, name, max pay, and min pay. That means it will send the record ID. So this is the record ID and name, position name, minimum pay, maximum pay, and account and contact. So it will send these details. It will send only these values: senior trainer, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, and Burlington Textiles, and the gang, and this the record ID. So it will send these details to the third-party system.
Also, is defining what is the information that we want to send
Yes,
in the email.
it's nothing
for
but the
example.
data. It's nothing but the record.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
Any more questions?
Can we set up to send a WhatsApp message or a text message here?
No, here, no, you can send from Salesforce to outside third-party system. So whatever the data you have in Salesforce, you can send only that.
Okay. Okay.
And one more thing, by using the process builder, we cannot send the, we can perform all the actions, whatever we have done in the workflow, but we cannot send the outbound message by using the process builder. That's a bit advanced than the workflow, but we cannot send the outbound message. That's the only difference. And we can do even more in that process builder. And one more thing you have to see here. See the workflow. So based on the values on child record. So this is the child position is the child record, right? And account and contact are the parents. So based on the values, based on the condition on the child record, we can update the fields of the parent records. I think let me select field update, new field update. So here we can select even account, and on account we can update account description also. Anything. These are the account object fields. So we can update account fields. And if I select contact, we can update contact fields. But in the same way, if we have, let's say, position is the child object and account and contacts are the parents. So if we have workflow on account and contacts, we cannot update the position records. So even if the position is parent to a specific specific object, like let's say object A, position is a parent and object A is a child. Let's say if we have workflow on a position object, we cannot update fields on object A. We can update only fields on account and contact, because based on the child we can update the parent, but based on the parent we cannot update the child in workflow. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is important question actually. Maybe in some interviews also they can ask, can you update the related records in workflow? Some people say we cannot, but we can. But we can update only parent records, not the child records. But by using the process builder, we can do both. Based on the child, we can update parent, and based on the parent also, we can update the child. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So, any questions on workflow?
So good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So if you don't have any questions, then I'll give some assignment. Excuse me, give me a minute. Okay. Let me paste it in the chat. So you have to create a workflow rule on your custom object. And the first one will be the first rule will be when a record is created or updated, and you have to add, you can add your own rule criteria. So based on your object, you can add I have added the criteria minimum page more than 1 lakh. So in the same way, you can add your own rule criteria. So you have to add 2 rule criteria for the first workflow. You have to add 2 rule criteria and update the field on the same object. So update any field on the same object that you're creating on workflow, and you have to update the field on a parent object as well. So make sure that you have to create a workflow on a child object, any child custom object, and send an email alert to any user. Let's say send an email to a creator. Creator. Okay, and this is the second workflow when a record is created. So you can add your own rule criteria and send the user an email after 2 days of the record created. And the third workflow rule, when a new or old record, whatever the record, when the existing record or the new record that is moved from the not meeting criteria to the meeting criteria. So you have to select that appropriate option and you can add your own rule criteria, and you have to create a task. So I'm pasting it again because I changed the user. Is everyone clear with this?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if you don't have any questions, we can close for today.
You know, I was having some
Yeah.
troubles with the homework that I was working on from Thursday, and I needed to have a connection between two fields. Let me see what was it about. But right now, I needed to have a mapping between two fields. I don't know why it was not allowing me to do it, even though that I was following the steps along with the video from Thursday.
Which
But
topic
I
you're
don't have
talking
it
about?
right now. What I'm gonna do is take some screenshots, and then I'll post it when I have it. So maybe I can have some help
Sure, sure.
later on.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, I wanna ask something kind of while means we are practicing or studying. If we have any queries, then means what should the way for approaching?
We have that Google group, right? So you can post if you have any queries, you can post it in the Google group. So
Okay.
we'll try to answer it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Or if you have any questions, then you can ask in the sessions also.
Yeah, means after session, like just
Okay,
studying
when
and
you're practicing, when you're
have
trying to
more
practice,
queries, right?
yes, you can post it in the Google group.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You can make a note of it whenever you're free. You can post in the Google group. So we'll try to answer it as soon as possible.
Definitely. Means we can share it on the what that Telegram group also. It's kind of like that.
I'm not sure about Telegram group. That Google group would
Yes.
be
Yeah, Google group. I know that.
yeah, that would be a better option actually.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
And one more thing is the workflow. These workflow rules and process builder approval process. These are all the um, inbuilt Salesforce tools. I mean, so before going for the programming, so we have to based on the requirement, we have to check whether that we can do in these by using these tools, process builder or workflow. Because if we already have that functionality, inbuilt functionality in Salesforce, then there is no point of coding, right? So we have to check with that first. We have to check that. So mostly for the developers, they get the requirements, like different kinds of requirements. But the client doesn't know whether can we do this by using the inbuilt tools, or we have to go for the coding. So you should have knowledge how to use a workflow or process builder and approval process. You should have the knowledge. So if we know by that we can do by using these tools, then we have to go with these tools instead of coding. So that's the best approach. That's for developers. I'm just giving you just overview. So most of maybe 20-30% of the requirements would be covered in the workflow and process builder. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, you can please ask. Otherwise, we can close for today.
Thank you, Murali.
Thank you, Murali.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Yeah, good night.